Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Writers Podcast. I have with me today's guest, Constantinos Koumontzis. Was that close enough?
Perfect. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. And we're here to talk about your debut novel, She Looks Like Fun. So why don't you give us your elevator pitch for what the book is about?
Sweet. So She Looks Like Fun follows Bonny, a Chicago-based fifth grade teacher by day, escort by night, who uses her clients as victims for her violent desires. One night, these two worlds collide, and Anne struggles to avoid spiraling into madness.
Oh, wow. That's a very intriguing premise. We'll have to get into how you came about with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But before we do, let's just let the readers find out, our listeners find out a little bit more about who you are.
Of course.
I see that you have a pretty extensive arts theater background. You went to DePaul, took a creating writing course, and you've also produced a short film, Touch.
I did, yes.
So how did this all come about? Were you so inclined since you can never remember?
I guess so. I mean, from even when I was a kid, I mean, I was always tinkering with stories. Like even if I was, playing with Legos or whatever it was, there
Right.
was always some big story behind or epic, whatever was going on. And then I'd say in high school, I really found that love for writing, and always was so into TV and film. Me and my brothers, we were always still to this day quoting movies all the time and movie marathons all the time, and it was such a central point of growing up, and then also with reading. So when I went to college is really where I was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself to this. I can do it. And I was always into the creative and an artistic path, as it is. So yeah, so and I really wanted to do both,
Okay.
film, TV, and also books. So yeah, so I just dove head first into writing when I was in college, and ever since I graduated, I moved out to LA, and yeah, it's been just head first dive into everything writing, everything books, everything film and TV.
Awesome. So what types of genre do you have an affinity for?
I kind of like everything. I like it. I like
Mm,
genre blending the most.
okay.
I love, like a Tarantino style thing where you can laugh, cry, and you're on the edge of your seat all in the same 5 minutes.
Hmm.
And I hope to create that same feeling within my work.
Okay.
Obviously, She Looks Like Fun is a little more suspense, psychological thriller, teetering the line of horror almost.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like a little bit of everything. I would say, even like comedy. I like working with comedy. I think comedy is the hardest thing to write. But
Sure.
I think the only thing I wouldn't do is like a full on like paranormal slasher kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Interesting, since your book is about a
Yeah, it's
serial
kind of. I mean,
killer.
it's about a serial killer, but it's. I would say a little more psychological than like
Okay.
I like I love like American Psycho, things like that, or Clockwork
Right.
Orange. That's really more like the cerebral character focused story.
Hmm.
To be honest, I get scared easily. So like The Conjuring is too much for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about writers? Is there any particular writers that you really glommed onto?
Um, Currently, there's like I love Caroline Kepnes, who did the You series. She's
Hmm.
great. I love Eric Larson. I'm actually really into history and historical fiction.
Okay.
Obviously, his stuff's all nonfiction, but I love him as a writer. Obviously, Anthony Burgess and um, Ellis and Donna Tartt is a really big one right recently. I just finished Secret History. Love that
Okay.
novel. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Um, and then I even like when I was in school, I really loved Victorian novels. So I was really big into Charlotte Bronte,
Mm.
and reading Villette was actually one of the biggest things that inspired me to write a character like Anne Bonny for She Looks Like Fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So uh, for your writing experience in that, like, were you like you obviously have the educational background, but were you in writers groups and things of that type, or?
Yes, I've had some writers groups since I've moved out to LA. In
Hmm.
college, we had obviously some writing clubs, and I did a couple sketch uh, groups that we just with friends that we
Hmm.
put together on our own. And then since moving to LA, yeah, I've had some writers groups, and I've worked with just collaborated on different projects with people, whether it was for film or TV or short films. And I think you always kind of find people that you like to work with, and you
Sure.
kind of feed off of each other. And film and TV is a little more collaborative,
Hmm.
definitely, than novel
Yeah.
writing. For books, I have my like little community of beta readers and people that I trust that I would go to
Hmm.
with whatever I'm working on, just to get thoughts and feedback from uh, my ideas and see if it's working or not. And obviously, like I like working on something, start to finish before showing anybody.
Hmm.
So I don't really have I'm not really like showing people chapter by chapter. I like kind of like the broader scope. I'll show
Right.
the finished product.
Okay. Do you have a preference for one over the other, writing versus fiction versus for TV movies?
Not re I mean, I think they're both kind of it's like different highs almost. Like you have a
Hmm.
different process for each. Um, they're they're different muscles, I feel like. I think that having uh, a foot in both camps helps them out. I
Sure.
think with being able to do prose and novel writing, I think that that big broad story scope can help you when you're working on a script.
Hmm.
You need to worry about characters and world building and building out, a full-fledged story. Whereas with screenwriting, a lot of times people are focused on putting together a blueprint for the film. And
Hmm.
for me, I'm like, I want the script to be able to stand on its own. At least, I have an affiliation to the background with the characters and the history with this
Hmm.
world and the characters that are in it. That I think doing both mediums actually helps. But I think honestly, it's kind of like today I'm into screenwriting, tomorrow I'm into novel writing, and it's kind of maddening, but
Right.
you try to figure out which one you want to put most of your time into. But I love them
Right.
both, I guess, for different reasons.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your the short film.
Mhm.
It says on your site that you produced it. What exactly did that entail for you?
So, yeah, so producing came and kind of fell into my lap. I was working on producing a few other feature films at the time.
Mm,
Um, both fell through because of COVID and the writer's strike. But
okay.
um, the short film was brought to me by a friend of mine who directed and wrote it, and he starred in it as well. And I didn't really know much about producing, and I was kind of learning on my feet as it was. But then he came to me with this, and so I helped him with some of the financing for it, and then also on the back end creatively with editing, with some sound, with premiering it and some festivals, and then just the whole process of getting it from shot to screen.
Okay.
Just little, bits and pieces along the way. I feel like when people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm a producer," it's like that can mean a million different things, and I learned that fully
Yeah.
with working on this project.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like executive producers, especially, that's just more of like an honorary
Yeah, yeah,
title for.
they might not have done anything. They might have just picked up the
Yeah,
phone and called someone and been like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
just
executive
it's more for
producer."
getting royalties or something, I think.
Yeah, usually, yeah. Unfortunately, there's not really royalties with a short film, so
No, obviously not. Yeah, what
but
was that movie about, or film about?
so it was about two best friends who are going on a hunting trip, and
Okay.
one is suspicious of the other for inappropriately touching his daughter.
Oh.
And so, yeah, that whole thing unfolds,
Mm,
in a dark way. It was very fun to work on. It was cool to work with different actors, and I love the collaboration,
sure.
with film, and it's so cool to see different people's takes on a story, seeing an editor work and a director work together, and to see how that process unfolds. It was really
Mhm.
nice for me as a writer because I'm like, okay, now I see what's going to happen eventually with a script that I write, or even hopefully a book that becomes
Right.
a movie.
And did this did the finished product, did it deviate much from the original script, do you think?
Not much.
Not much? Okay.
With shorts, there's not much room for deviations just because it was, I think, maybe 15 pages.
Okay.
And also, um, my buddy Nick, who did it, he was directing
Mhm.
and wrote it, so he had a little bit more of
Right.
a control over what got changed or what didn't get changed.
Mhm.
So it was pretty true to the original material.
Cool. Were
Um,
you were you on site when he was, shooting?
I did not go, they filmed it in Montana, actually,
Oh, okay.
and, so I opted out of going to the blizzarding snow to
Right.
film with them. They were literally out in the wilderness for, I think it was a week or 2, and
Oh,
it
okay.
was, yeah, they were just frozen stiff for a week, so I was
Mm,
lucky that I didn't have to go.
right. Now what having that experience, and, I don't know what your long-term goals are, like, are you interested in becoming a producer, director, or
After doing it, I I don't mind the producing. I definitely steer closer to writing, and,
okay.
I'm actually working on a TV show right now, and, a few other film projects. Mainly as a writer, I would love to direct eventually,
Mhm.
um, and I definitely think that TV might be where I'd start that
Right.
directing journey.
Mhm.
And then I think once you get to a certain level, you end up producing in some capacity or another.
Right.
So I'll do it as it comes and as I need to, but
Okay.
I would rather definitely focus long term as writing, directing, potentially directing in the future over the producing. The producing is a secondary for me.
Right. Okay, so let's, just focus more on the writing side of things then. Your debut novel is this one, She's the One. Um, did you write anything, or She Looks Like Fun, sorry.
She looks so fun.
Did you write any other fiction before you got to the novel? Like, did you start with short stories, or did you
I
just
did
dive
I did
in?
a lot of short stories in college, and
Okay.
I mean dozens. I was writing a full feature while in college as well,
Hmm.
kind of just for myself, just to sort
Mhm.
of get the muscle memory down and work out long form fiction.
Right.
Just because I was just so I was so eager and I was so in it, and like and I was writing
Yep.
scripts in college, and I was staying up. I was going to the library at 11 o'clock at night and tinkering away with a new screenplay idea, and I would be showing one of my professors and getting feedback on it on top
Mm.
um, of my actual schoolwork. And so I had put together at least 5 or so scripts and a novel before even approaching this. Because I had the character idea
Mhm.
probably 3 years before I even started writing it, but I knew I wasn't ready. I knew that it would be something that I kind of wanted to marinate a little bit and wait till I was equipped to tackle a character like this, and also just
Mhm.
like the subject material that it was. So yeah, training myself outside of school and in school, and getting all those other works down and getting better as with each one. Then to this point where I started this book.
Okay. Do you have did any of your short stories get published, or
No, I never looked into publishing any of my short
okay.
stories. I probably should have, but yeah, I kind of, saw them as assignments a little bit more,
Mhm.
and, I mean, this was part of a short story class when I, um, put together this character. I actually was workshopping Bonny as a character in one of my classes when I was in London, and,
Okay.
um, and so I didn't really and I was putting it almost more like a scene than it was a short story.
Okay.
And that is really kind of what was the first like egg for the book.
Right. I'm curious because I know screenwriting is a different format than,
Mhm.
fiction writing. Can you flip between the 2 pretty easily now, or
It now I think a little bit easier than I was before. Like when before you really have to get in that rhythm,
Mhm.
and it's definitely a different process, and I think it's just because with screenwriting every word matters on the
Yeah.
page. and the
Yeah.
blank space really matters, and you're really building that pacing in a certain
Mhm.
way, and the scenes are flowing a different way, whereas the novel process, you have a little more control as the writer. I mean, you can have a little more freedom, and you're able to expand where you want to,
Right.
and stay a little longer, and you're not worried about everything needs to be cinematic and everything needs to be punchy, and um
Mhm.
so it's definitely a different muscle, I think, for each one, and
For sure.
I
Yep.
think it's all just about training those to know when you need to flip them on and off. And I'm a little bit like, if I have one story in my head, I can't be in another story. So I've got to be working on like one thing. If it's a book, it's got to be a book, or if it's going to be a script, it's got to be a script.
Right.
Just because I'm a little bit more immersive in my
Mhm.
work. So once I kind of get into the flow of things, then it's like, okay, I'm here. I know what I'm doing, and
Okay.
I'm settling in.
Very cool. So she looks like fun. Where did the idea for this serial killer come from? I think it's awfully timely. I mean, I like serial killer stories.
Mhm.
I think there, there might be a little more polish on the serial killer stuff right now, especially since the last season of Dexter Resurrection was so
Yeah.
successful, and I thought it was just a fantastic season.
Mhm.
So you're in the right genre right now, I
Right.
think, at the time of the moment. But you said you started with this character in your writing workshops.
Mhm.
Um, is there any this uh, background relevance to how
N
this character came about, or
Not too much background. I don't
okay,
have, any connection to her,
you don't
but,
have a tragic
um,
childhood or anything like
no, I don't actually. Yeah, like, people will always be like, "Wow, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great," I'm like,
that?
one of the happiest guys you'll meet.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I always just I liked, flawed characters and
Hmm.
antiheroes, and I always sympathized with villains even when I was growing up. Like, I loved Darth Vader, and I loved, the Joker, and I was like, everything was always the bad guys for me,
Right.
and,
Okay.
so I wanted to create a character that, toes the line of good and evil, and is doing terrible things, but is justifying it to themselves,
Hmm.
and I think that's really what someone like, that's a serial killer is doing. They're thinking that what they're doing is okay, or, they're not
Yeah.
registering what they're
Yeah.
doing.
They usually have some kind of code.
Right, yeah, they have a code, and I think, like, No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh is one of the
Hmm.
best examples of that, and no
Yeah.
matter what, he's not deviating from that code, and so Anne
Yeah.
Bonny has this similar thing where she's doing the world a favor in her mind. She's doing what she sees as
Hmm.
the code that she needs to live by, and she will not deviate from that. Um,
Okay. Can you say what her code is, or is that a spoiler?
it's a bit of a spoiler, but I
Okay.
will say, though, that there is her biggest thing is about the way people manipulate each other,
Okay.
and she sees that we've gone from being a materialistic people to being more becoming the material itself, and
Oh,
being
okay.
able to be manipulated and allow ourselves to be manipulated simply to fit in, or to pretend like we, know what we're doing, or where we belong. And so she sees herself outside of all that, and she's correcting that fault that she sees in
Imbalance.
humanity. Yes, that
Right.
imbalance.
Okay.
And I was always really into the psychology of it all too. I loved criminal psychology, and what makes a person a psychopath and sociopath, and all of that was very interesting to me. So I
Hmm.
really wanted to explore the mental disorder, I would say,
Okay.
and someone struggling with like a duality of sorts. And so I found that with her, and that I wanted to see that she would be struggling with that as well, and that there's a certain element of control in her as well, where she's without that control in her own life is what's kind of keeping her sane, even though she's not. But uh, far from it. But she pretends to be, because she has that element of control.
Okay. So it's the aspect of masks and so forth as
Exactly.
well.
Yes.
Now, do you? Do you when you came up with the book, was what came first for you, the story or the character?
The character first, definitely the
Interesting.
character. It was really just a woman who was a school teacher having the secret life, um, and killing people, and they ended up colliding, and how she would handle that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, she was really the first thing, and then I kind of, yeah, I expanded on that to see what would this look like, what would this world look like. How could we make a relatable person, or a person that you could even root for, uh, that does these horrible things. And I found that a little bit in like a dark satire, in a way that she's the one narrating, so it's very voicey and it's in her head, and you're with
Mhm.
her, and there's times where you're like, oh, she's hilarious, or she's, she's she's someone I want to root for, which is a horrible thing. But I think
Right.
that that's why people love serial killers, so much.
Yeah, like Hannibal Lecter.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, so did you come up with the serial killer aspect first or the call girl aspect?
I wasn't sure if I was gonna have her kill at first.
Okay.
Definitely that she was a call girl, because it seemed just like such an extreme
Mhm.
to being a teacher and being around kids. And it's like a challenge to be like, okay, how can we connect these two? Um, but yeah, with her being a serial killer, that came pretty quick.
Mhm.
Because I was like, all right, yeah, I wanna do something a little darker. So
Right. Right. Okay. And do you foresee this as being a series, or is this a one-off?
So I don't think it's a one-off. I am contemplating whether I want to do like a prequel to it first
Mm,
before I go. I definitely have an idea of where I would take it after the book,
okay.
and so it could definitely keep going. But
Okay.
yeah,
And is there, like every story, they say the hero's only as good as the villain. Is there a pro antagonist that she's dealing with in the story?
there is a few antagonists. I think she's her biggest antagonist, to be honest, because she is, I really wanted to flip all the tropes as well,
Hmm.
and she's getting in her way just as much as anyone else, because I didn't want to write someone who's perfectly calculated, and she's not a pro. She's Dexter is very, he's precise, and he knows what he's
Right.
doing. He's a professional. Whereas
Right.
she's slipping up, and she's getting in her own way the entire time.
Mm,
But she also has essentially the antithesis of who she is, which is another teacher. And she's like the perfect uh, teacher that, as kids, you would never want to have, that like
mm.
very strict granola English teacher. And so
Okay.
she's her biggest adversary, I would say.
Is she a loner?
She is a loner, yes.
Okay, so she doesn't have any close friends.
No, and that's a lot of it too, is her trying to fit into this world, and it's almost like she's trying to fit in at this school that she's working at just as much as the kids are. And so she
Hmm.
connects. The only person that she really truly connects with is another loner who's a student, and she has this growing parallel with him, to where she can see herself in him,
Hmm.
because he almost is her in a mirror.
Right. Is you said that the book's through her point of view, so it's entirely first person
Yes,
viewpoint?
yes,
And
first person.
do you ever switch to other characters?
No, it stays on her. It stays with her the entire time.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's a bit of a challenge because you're locked into her viewpoint and there's all these external
Yes.
things happening in the story.
Mhm.
How do you handle that?
Um, Mainly by keeping you engaged with what's going on with her.
Okay.
And it's it's tough to there's not too much that is happening that, really like pops out at you, I would say, that you would need to be outside of her point of view.
Okay.
Um because it's really like, it's very fast paced, I would say, and it's happening in real time. Um so really, yeah, it's it's all happening to her and her decisions and her choices that are being made.
Okay.
And, I would say the biggest thing that happens um, outside of her perspective comes back around, and flows back into her story pretty seamlessly. So
Okay.
it works, I think.
All right. So how long did it take you to write this?
So I worked on it for about 2.5 years,
Okay.
and then I kinda set it down, and I was working on other things. I actually wrote a script for it, and then worked on a few different things for about a year or so, and then I went back
Hmm.
and decided it was time to get it out there. So, in that
Hmm.
time, I was also editing and workshopping it around, and I was, working with editors and readers and, polishing it up. My first drafts are always pretty quick because 'cause I'm very much like, get it all down, get the
Hmm.
first draft down, and then I love editing and I love, uh,
Okay.
critiques
That's
and
good.
getting, fixing things, yeah.
Yeah. So are
Needed.
you a putter inner or a taker outer?
You know,
Do you have to add things or do you have to take things out?
I usually take things out, I would say. I
Mm,
think it's best to have more, uh, and then rake after.
right.
Because I would it's always you can always trim, you can always sculpt it a little bit more, but if you're finished up and it's just bare bones and you're like, "Oh, wait, I actually don't even have a second act," then, maybe your story isn't exactly as fleshed out as you thought it was when you started
Right.
writing. Because I usually don't outline fully. I'll usually like outline midway through and then
Mhm.
once I'm in it, the characters kind of take the helm and they guide me the rest of the way. But yeah, I most even with screenplays, usually I shoot to be over, and even especially with like dialogue and things like that, I'm kind of just I'll roll with it, and I'll let
Mhm.
the characters once I kind of have their voices down and their characters down, they'll kind of just take over the scene, and then it's like okay, you have little nuggets and little pieces of dialogue, and then you're really nice and trim.
Mm.
Uh, it's easier that way. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What do you think your strengths are as a writer?
I think editing, honestly,
Mhm.
I think that it's a crucial point. I think it's also, uh, I think I have a good idea of taking what notes I need and
Mhm.
not having that ego get in the way. Because I'm all about making the story the best it can be. So if I'm hearing
Sure.
notes that I know are elevating the story, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely doing that because that
Mm.
the story matters more than my ego does. So I
Mhm.
think, yeah,
Great attitude.
yeah. I love
Yeah.
I love the editing process. I think it's
Okay.
I'm
What
crazy for it,
what do
but
you think you, as a writer have to work on still?
sometimes I question my own decisions,
Okay.
and, I'll kind of go back and forth with myself and tear at myself for a little while on an idea, and
Mhm.
it might take a week, it might take 2 months, but then I always come out the other side knowing what the right thing is. Because I think once you let, a question marinate for a while, it'll, make sense to you and it'll expose itself whether it was right or wrong. But yeah, sometimes my decisiveness can get the best of me. That and titles. It took me about up until 2 months before coming out what the title was gonna be for this.
Mm,
So, yeah.
okay. How about the name of the character? How did you come up with that?
So Anne Bonny is, inspired by a female pirate,
Oh.
who's called Anne Bonny, and
Oh,
I
okay.
did a lot of research into different, female serial killers and sort of just female figures throughout
Mhm.
history, and, there was I forget the last name of the woman, but it was Marie something, and, she was a serial killer, and then Anne Bonny was a pirate, and I've been obsessed with pirates since I was, like, 3 years old, and so I was like, "Alright, let's mix the 2 together,"
Oh,
and,
cool.
yeah, and I
So
thought that
maybe
it had a
the
good ring to it.
yeah, maybe it'll be a pirate book in your future.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay,
That'd be
so
cool.
you mentioned earlier that you're thinking of doing a prequel to this novel?
Yes, yeah, I've dabbled with the idea of seeing her as a young adult, or late teen, and
Okay.
seeing her coming up in the
And
world
that
and
would
how
be like
she
her
gets to this point.
right, that sort of be her origin story?
Sort of, yeah, an
Yeah.
origin story, sort of.
And what about stories after this She Looks Like Fun? Any thoughts
Within
there yet?
for her or
Yeah, for her. Or I don't know if you're thinking of taking it in a different direction or something.
for her, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but
Okay.
it pretty much would kick off from where we end in the book and
Okay.
see what becomes of her and where she's going to go next.
Right. And your book is available in all the usual places?
Yes, Amazon, online, I think through Barnes and Noble. The audiobook is just released on Spotify,
Oh, okay.
and then
And who
it's
did
going to
you
be on
get to do
Audible.
that?
I have a friend of mine who's an actor, and she did a fantastic job
Okay, cool.
narrating it, and we recorded it in December, and I was editing all the audio myself, and it was a brutal task, but we finished it, and so yeah, so very she did a marvelous job. She
Awesome.
scary, yeah, very
That's
scary.
good because yeah, audiobooks are really quite big nowadays.
They are, and
Most
I didn't think they were because I love a hard copy. You know, I like
same
holding a book
here.
in my hand, and
Yeah,
I've had so many people ask me when the audiobooks come. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think it was going to be that big of a
yeah,
deal, but you know, it's
yeah. It's a
coming.
big
It's coming.
market. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that hasn't come up yet?
Um, I don't think so.
Any
I
other
hope
projects that you're
working on a couple new film projects right now. A little bit hush hush, but you know, hopefully they get some more traction and get underway. And then obviously the next book, hopefully
Mhm.
it's with Anne Bonny, but I have a couple other ones that I've been uh, putting together and outlining. So we'll see. Maybe it's an Anne Bonny focused book. Maybe it's something a little different.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best with your future projects.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time again to
Yeah,
do this interview. And your next project comes to fruition, and you can always swing by and we can talk
absolutely. Would
about
love
it.
to. Would love
Yeah.
to. This is
Okay.
fun.
Well, great. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you too.
Yep. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye.